Yeah, but what is Jordan's ultimate purpose here, with this issue of re-education? Is his ultimate purpose? Does he believe that there should be reform within the School of Psychologists and the board? And if so, if he wants to see reform in how they do business and how they manage their membership, is this the most rational way of going about this? Right? Anyone who's ever had to deal with systems of bureaucracy, there are steps and appreciated like professional steps that you'll take to garner support within that structure, within that community. So considering this is like issues related to his social media behavior, is it really rational, the steps that he is taking? And if his goal is to just you know expose the idea of how bad any kind of bureaucratic board like this is, and that there shouldn't be any, then maybe he's got something. Then maybe he's on the right track. But I think Jordan's, he would be more interested in seeing reform in how boards operate. But I'm not too sure. But either way, I don't think that this is a very rational way of going about this. Although I do support Jordan's, of course, his rights to challenge legal proceedings or board proceedings that he finds to be unfair.
I actually, and as much as I know John thinks it's dumb or whatever it is, I think that the College of Ontario should have the right to have specific standards for its practitioners. I find myself dismayed to think that a psychologist or a professor or whatever can go ahead and make specific like statements where um, go counter to their professional degree. They go against the evidence. They go against what the literature supports and what the community supports. Because there's a way in which scientists and doctors and psychologists and academics go about invoking change within the academia. It's not about going on Twitter and calling people sluts. It's not about telling people that they're ugly or whatever it is. Right? There's a way to go about it to actually evoke change in the academia. You do research, you write papers, you argue the merits of the beliefs. And I think sometimes, I know when we spoke about it last, you said something about, oh, there's the professional side and his personal side. He can't be a personal person. He can't just post on Twitter or on YouTube his beliefs. Well, he can, just not under his professional guise, because on Twitter and on YouTube he's like doing his lecture series. He's presenting himself as a clinical board psychologist. And well, they're saying, well, that doesn't represent us, and we gave you that the name of that. We gave you the recognition of a clinician, and this is not okay. This is not the standards by which clinicians act in Canada. I don't see why that's not a thing that they should have.
Yeah, I don't really remember making the personal professional distinction, although I might have. I don't remember. What I would say is that both of you have invoked the idea that Peterson is fully able to try to take like legit more to your guys' minds legitimate ways of changing the institutions. I'm not sure that's super true. Actually, I'm not sure. I don't like think about this. Do you really think that the people who are in charge of the college and are really going to let like Peterson come in, get to a place of power, and then like change the college to more of the standards that he thinks? I don't really think that's reasonable. Now, like you can do institutional capture over like a long enough time period, but Peterson himself doing that seems like a very low chance because it's not exactly like they weren't antagonistic before this specific event. I don't. I also don't think that Peterson's goal is actually to reform the institution, Trav. To be honest with you, I don't think he has hope of that. Now, I gave you the reason why that might be a reasonable thing to think that he doesn't have a chance of doing that. But regardless of whether or not it's reasonable, I'm pretty sure that's his mindset. And in that case, exposing why the current state of affairs is really bad and shouldn't be super respected does seem like his goal. And if that's his goal, I mean, I think he's doing a pretty good job. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there actually. But I'm curious what you think, Trev. Do you think that like Peterson like would have a real chance of like coming into the fold in the college. And
Well, I think if
things.
he took an active role on the board and started making strong arguments that were well within the criteria of of what's acceptable, because look, it's not just about what Jordan wants, right? This is about what the board of psychologists, like the school of which should be abstracted from the school of psychology and from medical ethics and all of these things. That's what should be informing all of this, not just what Jordan Peterson thinks is right. So can Jordan play well with others in this kind of bureaucratic soup? I don't know too much about his history in doing that, but he does strike me as a lone wolf type of guy. And, and he's got a strong, fiery activist nature to him. So, like what I still struggle to understand exactly what his point is with this, and probably I think if I had to take my best bet, I would say he wants to be able to say what he thinks on the internet and not have that affect the good standing of his license. And I think that there is a lot of well-being to be had in that idea, but we also need to think about if a psychologist gets online and starts saying that they maintain their license and they start saying that you should not listen to almost every psychologist you go in and hear from, or you're getting therapy from. That could be that could cause a major issue, right? Because then you have all these patients that are listening to this psychologist online telling them that a psychologist can't be trusted, and he's a very famous one. So, there needs to be rules.
Hold on.
I want to just add before we go to the hold on. I just want to add just a thing. People who are licensed by the Clinician Board of Ontario, their credentials are all equivalent to Peterson. It's not like he's ahead of their credentials. It's none of that. They are equivalent to one another. So to say that because he disagrees, he can go about this way of trying to attack it and say whatever he wants to say, and that his beliefs are his belief, and they're all woke moralists, that just dismisses their education, their credentials, what they've learned, what the institution puts on them. So
two things. One, for the hold on, is that I'm not aware of Peterson saying all psychologists are fake.
I didn't say he did. I didn't say he did. I was using it. Hang on.
I don't want to straw man you.
I was using an example of that's where a board would be necessary to step in. Yeah. This is why the board exists. That if there's some insane psychologists out there, I'm not saying it's Jordan, but if he goes out there and starts saying, don't listen to any of these other psychologists, only come to me because they're all going to lie to you about your mental health, and I am the only one with the answer, then of course the psychology board is going to step in and say, you can't have a license anymore unless you accept this retraining or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's done that. Actually, okay, so mostly what he's doing is attacking the legitimacy of the board, which is to your point, Don. Like, fundamentally, Peterson does not think that the board is right, and he does not think that a lot of the things that he said is wildly beyond the pale. I tend to agree, by the way. I think that they're in the ideal world, there would be something like a board that would set something like limits, but I do not think Peterson crossed out of the realm of reason in any way. To me personally, I know we'll get to 1 second. So that's number one, and I think for that reason, yeah, he is trying to tear down the legitimacy of the board a little bit. I think that's basically accurate. I mean, now that you raised your hand, I've lost my thought. So I guess
I'm sorry. I won't raise my hand. I'm sorry.